On this video I'm going to show you how to install a holding tank in a yacht or other boat where discharge of the holding tank is taken care of by positive air pressure, which you produce simply from a standard dinghy pump. Now the system is you use your standard boat toilet, which has obviously the water inlet pipe and the outlet, which is this one here, in this case 1.5 inches, which normally with no holding tank in place, the outlet pipe would come up into a loop, the anti-siphon loop, and back down again, and then through the boat, then exit via the skin fitting in the hull, which currently is shown in the closed position. Now, to put the new tank in, basically what you do is to put a T-piece in the outlet hose, and then from that T-piece you put a 1.5 inch gate valve, and in this case it's shown in the closed position. The hose then, effluent hose, then runs round and into the tank itself, which is I've used a standard, well, just a proprietary tank here, which I've slightly adapted, and onto it I've fitted an 1.5 inch inlet and outlet adapter or fitting, and below here, because this is in the top of the tank, I've also got a dip pipe in it, within the tank, fitted onto the inside of that fitting. But obviously if this was in the bottom of the tank you wouldn't need the dip pipe, but in this case the 1.5 inch pipe, effluent pipe, comes into the tank. I've also fitted a T here with a stub end for a future connection to a deck pump outfitting, which I would put in at a later date up through the deck here, but at this stage I've just capped that off as shown. So from the gate valve you take the outlet, the effluent hose, through into the 1.5 inch fitting in the tank, and that's basically the in and out connection to the holding tank, which is this MDPE unit here, which is in this case 25 litres capacity with a small inspection cap there. Now into the top of the tank, and this has to go in the top of the tank, it can't go in the bottom, I've also fitted a vent pipe which is combined with a float gauge and a cut-off. Now the float gauge is designed so that it rises when the fluid level in the tank gets within 2 inches of the top of the tank, so a marker then shows here, and at that point a semi cut-off comes into effect also, which prevents the tank overfilling and prevents you inundating the vent pipe. Now in this particular example I've used again 1.5 inch diameter as this tank fitting, but in fact this could have been reduced to a much smaller size by simply using 1 inch diameter, because the hose is 1 inch anyway, so you don't need anything bigger than that, but obviously you would need a smaller diameter float and the whole thing would be a much smaller scale. Now the vent pipe itself comes off the top of this fitting and comes over and runs into a 1/2 inch L valve, which operates to work either to vent that way, or with the lever moved to this way like that, the L valve will operate to the pump side of the assembly. And also I attach a piece of shock cord here to hold the L valve in that vent position normally, which is how it is always kept unless you're actually pressurizing the tank to affect the release of the discharge of the fluids. So on the vent side, again, you have the 1 inch pipe that runs inside the vessel and up and goes through and exits to the outside above the deck level, and that exits to a clamshell vent on the outside. So that's the vent side of the assembly. On the pressurized side, again, it uses the same the same connection here, but the valve would be moved to this position so that the flow is this way, and on this side of the L valve you have an assembly which is simply the inside section of a standard Holke-Roberts valve clamped into a piece of 1.5 inch diameter tubing. So that's the whole assembly. That's all you need, and basically you know, it's very simple to fit. There's no other fittings required, no pumps, no fluid pumps. The only pump you need is, as I say, the standard dinghy pump. And I will now, in the second video, I will show you how that how the whole system operates using the pump to effect the discharge. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to operate the holding tank system on a boat where the system is where the holding tank is evacuated by use of positive air pressure using a standard dinghy pump such as this. I would say that at all times you keep the inlet water pipe into the boat toilet. That is always, when in use, that you always keep that open. And also the system has a Holke-Roberts valve which is here, and this is always kept in, because it's only ever used to pressurise the system and never to vent. That's always left in the closed position. In other words, you don't have the plunger pushed in, it is always left closed, and it's only used to pressurise the system. And obviously the cap you just use just to tidy things up like that. So in normal use, when you're using the marine toilet, if you don't want to use the header tank and you're just pumping directly overboard, as you would do when you're, say, out at sea, the system operates in the following way. Firstly, you ensure that the gate valve on the transfer side of the hose is in the closed position, and you also ensure that the seacock is open like that. You would then operate the sea toilet as normal, and that would pump from the toilet through the discharge, through the outlet pipe, over the anti-siphon loop, and straight through the T-piece and down to the outlet and directly overboard there. Now, when you want to pump from the toilet to the holding tank, what you do is you firstly close the seacock like that, and you also open the gate valve like that. And at this stage, when the tank is filling or when it's normally just standing, the L valve is always kept in the vent position like that, venting to atmosphere through the deck vent. So with the valves in that position, that one open and the seacock closed, you would then pump to flush the toilet. Now this will take, as I say, the tank will take 25 litres, and you will continue pumping until the float gauge and the cut-off valve, well, until the float gauge starts to indicate here. So I shall carry on until we get to that position. So we just continue pumping. Okay, so we've done about 200 flushes of the toilet now, and as you can see, the float gauge is starting to show. So after a couple more pumps, so we'll probably do about 250, 300 flushes of the sea toilet, and you now see the float gauge is fully visible, which is indicating that the level in the tank is up to about 2 inches below the vent pipe here. So at this stage, it's now time to empty the holding tank, which now contains 25 litres of effluent. Now, to empty the tank, what you do is simply leave this gate valve in the open position. So we now need to open the seacock like that. So we've now got the seacock open, we've got the gate valve open. Now what we need to do, we need to then pressurise the tank using the Halkey-Roberts valve through the vent pipe. And to do that, we need to release the retaining cord on the L valve, like that, and then we put the L valve to the pressurised position, which is like that, down there. So now the pressure, we can pump air in through the Halkey-Roberts valve into the L valve that will go up the vent pipe and then to the top of the tank through the vent, like that. So I'll now fit the foot pump, standard dinghy foot pump. That simply plugs in there, and all we do now, with the valve in the position shown, I just give a few pumps on the foot pump like this, and already you can see that the valve is going down. We just keep pumping. And after 35 pumps of the foot pump, you can hear that all the fluid is fully, or the effluent fluid removed from the tank. You can hear it's just pumping air directly now out through the outlet hose. So the tank is now empty after simply 35 pumps. We remove that, put the cover back on the Halkey-Roberts valve, return the L valve to the vent position, like so, and attach its retainer, like so. It's a bit difficult to sing left-handed, but there you go. And if you want to continue filling the tank now, then all you have to do is close the seacock and fill it as before. So that would be like that. However, if you want to simply discharge overboard directly from the head, then all you do is close that valve and isolate the tank again. So that's how I'll leave it. We've got the heads now discharging as before, well, as normally, directly out of the outlet hose and directly overboard, and the effluent tank, the holding tank, is completely empty. It's isolated from the system by the gate valve, and it is left venting to atmosphere so that you don't get any pressure build up in the tank. And that's it. Job done.